Hi, welcome to HTM Insider. I'm Sherelle with Multi Medical Systems, and we're excited today to bring you the right to repair with Kevin O'Reilly from US PIRG.
Maybe to step back and talk about what right to repair is. Right to repair, as I was saying, is this idea that we should be able to fix our stuff when it breaks.
Right.
And that means that the consumer should, not only be able to fix it themselves, but have the choice to fix it themselves, to have an independent repair technician fix it for them, or go to the dealer. But in everything from ventilators to John Deere tractors to Apple iPhones, manufacturers restrict access to necessary parts, tools, and information to fix this stuff, which makes you go back to the manufacturer themselves. That's a bad deal because it costs more.
Right.
In the medical device field, this is definitely the case that it's incredibly expensive to get a service contract with the OEM. But it also, means that things don't get used for as long as they need to, or it's a little bit of an assault on the agency of ownership, right? Of the idea
Mhm.
that it's my thing, I should be able to do what I want with it. So, that's kind of right to repair in broad strokes. But, so like I said, right now we have right to repair bills in 25 different states. We've got right to repair bills that include medical equipment in 10 states. So, my focus has really been on that, as well as the agricultural side of things. And then we have, members of our team who focus on, doing the work in the states themselves, and then also doing kind of more focused things on household appliances and consumer technology.
Right. So, when do you think this started? Can you pinpoint a year when the division happened between ownership, right to repair, and legislation?
Yeah, so I can't point to a specific year, but I think the trend that has led to where we are today is the fact that everything has become more computerized, right?
Mhm.
Everything has software these days. And as that was implemented, this was an opportunity to control the repair market because, like the service keys work in medical equipment, the same things happen in agricultural equipment. If a farmer has a problem with his tractor and needs to go in and fix it, he doesn't have access to the service key. He's got to go back to the manufacturer. So that started to happen. We started to see repair manuals that are thick turn into
Mhm.
really, really thin user
Right.
manuals, or
Right.
um, and repair and service have become more of a revenue stream than a collaborative effort to make sure that we're getting the most uptime possible. So I know that people in the HTM world have been calling for this for a long time. I think you're going to talk with Bin Seng Wang, who has
Mhm.
long been a proponent of this, and he can probably speak a little bit more to the specifics of it. But I think this issue has been around for a long time, but COVID-19 really brought it under the microscope, right?
Right.
So at a time when OEMs should have been working, you know, closest with hospitals and ISOs to make sure that every ventilator, every dialysis machine, every piece of imaging equipment was ready and up and running to help a patient. Many manufacturers continued to restrict access to repair materials. So, I think it's made it all the more urgent. It's helped to bring some awareness to it. We've done a lot of work at US PIRG in response to this. So, back at the outset of the pandemic, one of the things we did was we did a massive effort to bring public
Yeah,
opinion
we saw
into
that.
the
Yeah.
effort, right? So
Yep.
we collected 43,000 petitions calling on ventilator manufacturers in particular to loosen some of their repair restrictions, and got a big victory in that GE Healthcare and Fisher and Paykel and Medtronic did
Yep.
open up some of their online trainings and tools. But the fact of the matter is that's ventilators only. That's not every manufacturer of ventilators. So, the work has continued. We are have now since then really been focused on recruiting biomeds. So, we had an open letter, and a lot of the work I was doing was to recruit over 500 biomeds from 41 states to call for reduced repair restrictions, to call for right to repair. That helped us get the attention of folks like Senator Ron Wyden, who introduced the
Right.
Critical Medical Infrastructure Right to Repair Act, which is a mouthful. Don't make me say it 5 times fast. But
Yeah.
but yeah, so that didn't pass, but our efforts continue, and now our focus is on the states, and in particular this bill in California that we think could have legs and could start to address the issue.
Well, let me take a step back now, and I'm going to pretend like I'm the OEM.
Okay.
And I know why you can't repair my stuff, because you can't do it as good as we can do it, because you're going to put subpar parts, subpar training, subpar effort into the repair. I've had them compare VW parts to Mercedes parts, right? I've seen that in the field myself, even around endoscope repair. And I know it's not true, but let's just say I'm the OEM and I'm asking you this question or telling you this. What do you believe as the end user, right? I mean, how do you come back against that and say, no, we have this right to repair our own equipment because we bought it?
Yeah, I think there's a couple important points there. So for one, the FDA looked into whether or not independent repair was safe. And they found definitively yes, right? There was a 2018 report that they issued that not only stated that, OEM, in-house, and third-party repair is safe and there's no real safety risk to patients as a result of it. The report goes so far to say that third-party repair is critical to the functioning of the US healthcare system. So that's kind of, I think, the first big point, right? That this idea that it's not safe is just not true. But the other part is, I've spoken with dozens of biomeds over the past 8 months or 9 months or year, however long it's been. One conversation that sticks out to me is Ramana Sastry, who's the head of clinical engineering at UCSF. And the way he talked about it, he's like, this is our house, right? These are our patients. This is our equipment. And we have pride in delivering the best care possible, making sure that our equipment is up running at 100% so that we can continue to deliver incredible care to our patients who walk in the door.
Right.
And that kind of pride and that kind of responsibility, I think, is in hospitals throughout the country. So this idea that they would be cutting corners, I don't think that checks out.
Yeah. And so the bottom line, which is the elephant in the room, right, is why is OEM pushing so hard? What's in it for them?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the fact of the matter is it's money. Being able to have a de facto repair monopoly allows you to control the market, to charge whatever you want to charge and not worry about competition. So I think they've seen how service and repair can be a huge money maker, and they want to protect that line of revenue.
Do we have any political legislative barriers out there that you can make us aware of that we can maybe help with?
Yeah, I think there's a lot that can be done because there are absolutely political barriers. That's what we're seeing right now in California. So as this issue has really come to the national attention over the past year, a lot of these manufacturers have been embarrassed to some degree. They are, have their kind of white hat position has been challenged a little bit in the fact that there has been this call saying you're not doing everything you can do to help patients. So they have come out really aggressively against our bills everywhere they're introduced, particularly in California, through their industry group. AdvaMed has been doing a lot of lobbying on the issue, and they've got a lot of money, they've got a lot of influence, they've got a lot of power. So the best thing that we need to do to overcome this is to tell stories, right? We need to have technicians and doctors and hospitals come out and say, this is the impact of the repair restrictions that currently exist. And this is the way that it's hurting, it's hurting patients. It's leading to delays. It's costing more. And that means that our healthcare system is more and more expensive, right? We need that truth to be told as much as possible. So there's a lot that, you who are listening, if you work in the HCM field, if you work in a hospital, we want to hear your stories. We want to hear you speak out for it. So, we do have a letter, a petition, particularly for those in California, that hopefully, we can share in the show notes or somewhere.
Absolutely.
But that's the biggest thing is to start by coming out saying that this is a problem. Any professional organizations or your hospital, talking to folks there and asking them to come out in support of right to repair, and then get in touch with me. I'm on Twitter at Kevin_O'Reilly7. You can send me an email, which I can leave with Sherelle to make sure that it gets out there. But we'll find a way, because ultimately we think that by joining it together and telling this truth over and over and over again, that's how we overcome the political barriers that do exist.
So what's the FDA's stand on this? I've read a lot of reports. What do you guys feel like the overall tone is from the FDA?
Yeah, so the FDA hasn't really weighed into this issue too much, right? They have not come out in support. They haven't come out in opposition. They have, done some work to try and bring together ISOs and HDOs and OEMs, just alphabet soup there, but
Right.
to try and bring all the different parties to the table through a collaborative communities effort. But that has not gone over so well. It hasn't been all that collaborative, to be honest. A lot of the manufacturers kind of left that, and I think that legislation is an important way to force them to come back to the table, because ultimately, right to repair bills are not about taking away their business. They're not about cutting them down a peg. It's about trying to get them to be more cooperative with the folks doing the work in the hospitals at this critical time, and regardless of whether there's a pandemic or not.
Right. And since the pandemic started, are there any numbers that you guys have found that have been overwhelming in support of the Right to Repair Act that you guys are able to show? Because I know sometimes, even though we're saying it, it always takes the facts. Show me the facts, right? Where are you guys
Sure.
finding the facts?
Yeah, so what we've been doing really has been focused on talking to the biomeds themselves. It's been about the biomeds kind of lived experience, right? So we did a survey back in June of 222 biomeds from across the country, asking them a couple questions about what's been happening. So of those, over 200 respondents, 91.8% of them, so more than 9 out of 10, had been denied access to service information for critical equipment like defibrillators, ventilators, anesthesia machines, et cetera. 30% reported equipment in their facilities that they could not use due to restrictions on spare parts and service information. And then in addition to that, almost 70% of the respondents say that their hospital had to delay a patient procedure because they were waiting on a manufacturer representative to fix a device. 7 out of 10 in the middle of summer, when the pandemic has only gotten worse, and now I think there's some light at the end of the tunnel, but the fact that 7 out of 10 had to delay procedures because of this problem is incredibly illuminating of the impact that it has. But the ways that you can tell your story, there's a couple of them. So you can reach out to me. You can go to yourstate.repair.org. So, if you live in California, it would be california.repair.org. Repair.org is one of the main groups that is fighting for the right to repair across a bunch of different industries. But there, what you can do is there's a tool to write a letter that will immediately, it'll go straight to your legislator, straight to your state legislatures. It also has an opportunity where it'll call whoever your representative is. So you just have to stay on the line. We'll patch you through, and you can tell them why you're in support of right to repair and the bill in particular. So that's a couple ways that you can get involved, and that would be really helpful. But I think in addition to that, like I mentioned before, that petition that we'll have information for it. If you're in California, we would love to have your name on there and use that as a way to start your involvement and really make a difference on the issue.
Yeah, we will definitely link the viewers up and our listeners up with all that information so they can get more actively involved. And how do you think we can get this word out farther in the community?
Absolutely. So I think, I think there are a number of things you can do. I've talked about the ways to get involved individually, but start talking about it with the other members of your hospital, right? Let the doctors you work with know, and let your who you report to, and other departments, nurses, things like that. A lot of, because HCM biomed folks are so good at their job, nobody ever knows when something goes down. But
Some people don't even know who they are.
Yeah, exactly. I spoke with one. Right. I spoke with one biomed who said he prides himself in being like a ninja, right? He like slips in there, gets the piece of equipment that's broken, maybe puts in a replacement, or makes the fix all under the dark of night when nobody notices. But
right.
So I think that there's some work to be done to just let other people know the problems that you're facing, and that right to repair is a way to address that. And then other than that, it's getting in contact with your legislators, letting them know that this is something that you care about. This affects your work, and it affects patient care. All of that is really important, and they are in a position to do something about it.
Yeah, I think that's really important. And one voice is important, just like one vote is important. Do you find bipartisan between the Democrats and Republicans in the House, like who's supporting and who isn't? Is that an issue?
No, I think this is really a bipartisan issue. This is not about ideology or party affiliation or anything like that. This is about a problem that needs to be fixed, and it's a common sense solution to get to it. So I think this really is something that we see support from both sides. In fact, on our bill in California, which is, if you want to look it up, it's called the Medical Device Right to Repair Act, SB 605. We have an author who's a Democrat and a co-sponsor who is a Republican, because this is an important issue, and it doesn't matter which side of the aisle you fall on.
I'm going to ask you one last question that maybe you can leave our listeners and our viewers with. We're going to call it the word of wisdom, right? Mm-hmm. Your wow word, right? And it's been pretty big in 2020 and 2021 is, my word is intent. I want to do things with intent. And what is my intent about my actions personally and professionally? Do you have that wow word that you could associate to right to repair, that maybe just hearing that word might make our listeners think about, oh yeah, I have to call my legislator or write that letter because they hear that word, they can live by it?
I think it's urgency. I think that this is a really important moment to act, because, COVID-19 and all that we've been through has us looking at our healthcare system in a way that we haven't looked at it before. And I think this is an incredibly necessary change, is passing right to repair and making sure to get these tools widely distributed to the right folks. Mm-hmm. And it needs to happen now. I think that this is as good as a chance as we'll have in a long time.
Is there a date on that movement, on that, when this might happen?
Yeah. So, in California, we're anticipating that the bill will be heard by the Health Committee, either April 7th or more likely April 14th. So if you're in California, now's the time to do it.
Okay. Yeah. So one more time, I want to give you the opportunity just to let us know your contact information, some key, maybe phone numbers, email addresses, websites, and we'll post those up too, and links so people can get a hold of you, your team, and the important people to make this change, because you're right, it is urgency, right? I mean, April 1st is just around the corner.
Yeah, it's coming up quick. Yes. So, my email address is KOreilly, KOREILLY at PIRG.org, PIRG.org. I'm on Twitter at Kevin_O'Reilly7. And then, the other big website is yourstate.repair.org. So again, California.repair.org as an example. Those are some great ways to reach out, to get involved in the right to repair movement, which is growing and building and really dynamic. But we would love to have you all be a part of it.
Well, thank you for joining us today, Kevin. I'm excited to help the movement. Multi-medical systems is excited and supporting your efforts, and we really appreciate you. I want to let you know that your efforts really do mean a lot to us.
Well, thank you, Sherelle, and thank you for all the MMS has done and for the opportunity to talk about this, because yeah, I mean, y'all do such important work, and I want to make sure that you do it restriction free.